Welcome everyone to the info session for the Climate Schools Research Experiences for Undergraduates and K-12 Educators. My name is Laurel Zima-Sheehy, and I am the Program Manager of the K-12 and Continuing Education programs at the Columbia Climate School. So I lead this program alongside my colleague Josh Fisher, who is the Director of Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict, and Complexity at the Columbia Climate School. He unfortunately is unable to make it today, but if you have any questions for either of us at the end, we're happy to help you out. So the purpose of today is to learn more about the Climate School's Summer 2023 Research Experiences program. It's titled Beyond Basic Science, Connecting Climate to Communities, and this is funded by the National Science Foundation. So the format of this session, we're going to start with a brief introduction to the Climate School and the REU program. We'll also get to hear directly from the Columbia Climate School experts that will be your mentors in this summer program. They're going to be sharing a little bit about themselves, their work and their research, and the project that you will be working on in collaboration together this summer. So a little bit about the logistics. We are using the Zoom webinar format. So if you have any questions, which we encourage you to ask questions throughout the course of this info session, feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom webinar screen. You can ask questions at any time, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of the program. You can ask questions about program features, applications, or the projects themselves. So the Columbia Climate School's mission is to develop and inspire knowledge-based solutions and to educate future leaders for a just and prosperous society on a healthy planet. So we're really excited. This is the first new school at Columbia in 25 years. And Columbia recognized that there was a need for a climate school, as climate change is one of society's greatest challenges and an intergenerational challenge at that. It disproportionately impacts people that are already severely disadvantaged. And these challenges are very complex and difficult to find solutions to. So we really need this transdisciplinary approach to create very innovative and coordinated solutions to be able to address these challenges. So therefore, the Climate School was born out of this need, and it's designed to address these challenges as it's guided by interdisciplinary research, partnerships, education, innovative technologies, and the sharing of ideas with the focus on having a direct impact on the world. While this is a new school, it's not a new fabrication. It really builds on 75 years of leading research in earth sciences, and the leaders at the Climate School have been thinking from across the university how we might develop complex solutions to these challenges of climate change. So we have more than 700 scientists, faculty, researchers, public health experts, lawyers, staff working from over 20 different institutes involved in the school. And together we combine our scholarship and teaching so we can come to a comprehensive array of solutions. And the Climate School is committed to offering educational opportunities for graduate, undergraduate, and pre-college students, as they are the next generation of change makers and are essential stakeholders in addressing the climate crisis. So with that, the Research Experiences for Undergraduates and K-12 Educators program has really been developed. So the site at the Climate School is an internship program opportunity for both undergraduate students and K-12 educators to better understand the context, connections, and perspectives of climate change in a way that directly connects the science to people and communities. So participants in this REU program will explore the transdisciplinary science being done at the Columbia Climate School. You'll have the opportunity to work through the scientific process to better understand the latest climate change research, how it's gathered, analyzed, and communicated for relevant stakeholders and policymakers. You'll be able to engage in team learning around a meaningful project, participate in professional development activities beyond the direct research. So that covers both practical skills as well as soft skills, and building and learning a professional relationship through this layered mentoring structure that we have within the REU program at a world-renowned research institute. So the goals for the program differ depending on if you're an undergraduate student or if you're an educator. So the goal for the undergraduate participants is to work towards a scientific poster, presentation, or publication that can be shared at a conference, a workshop, or a professional event. And the goal of a K-12 educator is to produce curriculum, lessons, and activities that are based on the scientific research project. Ultimately, the educators are to bring this content into their own classroom, as well as share these lessons with your K-12 network to broaden the reach of the climate education you developed. This summer, we can take a total of 10 to 12 participants, and it really depends on your interest in the variety of projects that we offer this summer from our wonderful mentors. So we're going to hear from them directly, actually, right now. So we're going to start by hearing from Romney Webb, who is at the Sabin Center for Climate Change Law, about her project that is really focused for undergraduate students. Romney?
Yeah, thanks, Laurel, and hi, everyone. I am Romney Webb. I'm the Deputy Director of the Sabin Center for Climate Change Law, which is a sort of think and do tank housed within Columbia Law School and a member center of the Columbia Climate School. So a little bit of background on the center. Our mission is to develop innovative legal techniques to fight the climate crisis and to train students and lawyers in their use. We have a team of about 15 people led by our faculty director, Professor Michael Gerard, who's a sort of renowned environmental law scholar, and our executive director, Michael Berger, who you see on this slide, also a leading expert in the climate change law field. Our work spans both climate change mitigation and adaptation, and we work across sort of a variety of industry sectors, including, most relevantly for this project, energy. So one of our key initiatives is what we call the Renewable Energy Legal Defense Initiative, or RELDI, which was established in 2019 to provide pro bono legal assistance to community groups and others that support renewable energy development in their communities, but are facing local opposition to that development. And so this particular project is intended to support RELDI's work. The primary focus of the project will be around supporting the further development and maintenance of various online databases and other resources we make available that document sort of common arguments against renewable energy development and highlight sort of misinformation in those arguments and compile resources that sort of challenge that misinformation and highlight the needs and the need for and benefits of renewable energy development. So there will be a research component to the project and also an important writing component to the project. The last thing I'll just quickly mention is that this project will sort of plug into our summer internship program, which we run every year. It brings 8 to 10 undergraduate, master's, and law students to the Sabin Center for a 2 to 3 month stint working with us. As part of that summer internship program, we run, a number of events, a speaker series, field trips, etc. And so the person who takes on this project will get to plug in to all of that and take advantage of all of those programs. I will leave it there, Laurel.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Really exciting project. Next, we're going to hear from Fabian about the project that's led by the Center for International Earth Science Information Network, or CESIN. And this is also a project that's really geared toward undergraduate students.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Fabian. I'm a postdoc at the Center for International Earth Science Information Network at the Columbia Climate School. I will talk a little bit about our own project for this research experience summer. So we're actually 3 in these teams. We all, myself, Alex Shabanen, he is a senior research scientist and a deputy director at CESIN, is one of the primary authors of the Groundswell report, groundbreaking report funded by the World Bank that aim to project how much more migration might be caused by climate change
Thank you. That was wonderful. And next, we are going to hear from Ani from the Research Program on Sustainability Policy and Management. This program or this project is really geared toward K-12 educators.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ani Wang. I'm with the Research Program on Sustainability Policy and Management at the Columbia Climate School. Today, I'm going to introduce the project I bring to REU. It's about the sustainability education curriculum for high school students. So this project is funded by the Tencent Foundation in China, and the goal is to produce a comprehensive sustainability education curriculum for high school students. Although the priority target audience is Chinese high school students, but we think the content and the knowledge of sustainability is universal, so it can be readily adapted to other contexts elsewhere in the world. So the whole curriculum comprises 7 modules from grades 9 to 12. And these modules each will be implemented as a semester-long course of 60 to 80 class hours. And what we produce everything, what we deliver for each module is something like a textbook containing all the content knowledge, case studies, and the student activities, including the instructions for teachers. So everything will be written in English, and then our research partner in China will be responsible for localizing and translating everything in Chinese. So since this is an education project, so we're naturally looking for educators who have experience in K-12 education and preferably have experience with sustainability education. But for any student interns who are very excited about sustainability education, we're also welcome. So in the end, if you're working with us, you will be collaborating with us on creating a textbook for different modules. And based on the current timeline, in this summer, we will be probably working on one of the 3 modules, either about renewable energy, green economy, or sustainability cities. So in the end, whatever sections you write or case studies you compile or student activities you create can be the product you take away, or you can take a step further by creating your own lesson plans or class plans to be presented somewhere else. So if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer in the Q&A. Otherwise, looking forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Ani. All right, and next we have Paul from the Center for Sustainable Urban Development. This project is open to both undergraduate students and K-12 educators.
Thanks very much. And I'm glad you're all joining us for this presentation. A word about the Resilient Coastal Communities Project at the Columbia Climate School. Our job is to support actionable, equitable solutions to flood risks for coastal communities, and also to support complementary benefits like habitat restoration, job creation, and more empowered communities generally. The way we go about doing this is we attempt to strengthen dialogue with frontline communities. Just before this call, we were on with 10 of our partners in frontline communities who have become part of our interview work and our research work. We want to try to understand the risks they face, the benefits they seek from coastal resilience planning, and help center those risks, benefits, and priorities in government planning. We want to be an effective ally and a valued resource for frontline communities. We participated in last year's summer research experience. We had 2 great undergraduates and a wonderful educator. They supported a partner organization named South Bronx Unite in achieving their own resilience goals and recreational access goals, and worked actively with the New York City Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice to analyze a series of seminars they did in the spring of 22, known as the Climate Knowledge Exchange. And this year, we're hoping to work with students and educators with the United States Army Corps of Engineers, which is creating a study that's designed to protect over 900 miles of the Northeast coastline in the New York, New Jersey area from climate risk, and also help our 10 research partner community organizations engage more actively with city, state, and federal resilience planners. So if you'd like to know more, I know they can get you in touch with me after this. Happy to answer any questions folks have today or afterwards.
Thanks, Paul. All right, next we have Josh DeVincenzo from the National Center for Disaster Preparedness, and this project is open also to undergraduates and K-12 educators. Josh.
Excellent. Thank you, Laurel, and thank you everyone for being here. My name is Josh DeVincenzo. I am the Assistant Director of Education and Training at the National Center for Disaster Preparedness, and excited to share with everybody the opportunity that we have queued up for this summer. We've been fortunate to be part of the program for the past few years, so this project is actually building upon the work of previous interns and mentees around a focus area for us, as well as a federal grant that we're working on to address preparedness education and training that address climate and equity issues around the United States. And one of the things that we have queued up, and as I mentioned before, building upon previous work, is this focus on teaching the relationship between disaster recovery inequalities that may emerge throughout the process, and how to integrate that into classrooms, into workplaces, et cetera. So the project that we are going to focus on this summer is actually what do we do with many of these mapping resources? So we're working on a grant right now that looks at a training and education program to address both climate and equity. And we've been given a series of GIS or geographic information systems maps, but little has been done to actually test or research how effective these maps are going to be with participants in a training initiative or in a classroom. So what we're going to do, I think, is something that we should have done a long time ago, but I'm glad we're going to carve out time this summer, is actually look at the instructional and pedagogical intent of GIS mapping applications and design activities, design use cases around them, and then also look at how to measure the effectiveness of having those in a training or in a classroom. So there's going to be opportunities to, one, look at some of the educational theory and strategies behind this modality, from place-based learning to using multimedia in the classroom, to actually trying this out, getting some user testing on this information and improving it. And hopefully this will be something that either an educator can use in their classroom or an undergraduate can have exposure to how we use some of these different technologies to train community members, to engage community members on these topics. One thing that I look forward each summer to is that we also have a full team of curriculum developers, instructional designers. So we really look forward to engaging with educators on this, because this is something, of course, we want to see work well. And hopefully this summer we can take the required steps to make sure that any use of GIS maps for addressing climate equity are used effectively in the classroom. So really looking forward to collaborating this summer, and happy to answer more questions around our project in the Q&A.
Thanks, Josh. And next we have Joanne from the Advanced Consortium on Cooperation, Conflict, and Complexity. This opportunity is for undergraduates and K-12 educators.
Hello, everyone. Good evening if you're in New York. So I'm Joanne, and I am the program manager of the Youth Peace and Security program at AC4. And this consortium is directed by Dr. Beth Fisher Yoshida, who is not here today, unfortunately, but she will also be part of your mentor team. So at the YPS program, the Youth Peace and Security program, our objective is to identify and then act on the close linkages that are between social conflict and violence. And our focus around that is to be able to identify the peaceful responses, especially by youth community leaders, to that phenomena. Our approach seeks to elicit, to further develop, and to disseminate the best practices among youth leaders, especially in the Global South. So we have worked 2 years already with interns during the summer, and the experience has been always great. And we look forward to working with interns this summer on a research project that we are developing as the year develops. And it has to do with research and understanding the ways peace building practices done by youth community leaders in Latin America are addressing climate change, including the effects that this has in migration. So we have evidence that most of these youth community leaders believe that peace must not only be achieved between humans, but also between humans and the natural environments that surrounds them. So there is this complex relationship between natural and social environments that are thought about within indigenous cosmologies, especially in the Pacific coast and in the Amazon region in South America. And we are interested in shedding light on how youth community leaders are applying these epistemologies in their work in both urban and rural settings. So you will be conducting a systematic review of the data that we have already collected. And also you're going to help us design and create a literature review of these alternative epistemologies, about the relationship between nature and society to then design and submit an annotated bibliography, which will be utilized for the publication of an article in which you as an intern would be, of course, credited and acknowledged. So I look forward to working with some of you guys for this during the summer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to all of our mentors that were able to share about their projects. They all sound really exciting, really great work. So a little bit more about some of the program features of this REU. So as a participant in this program, you'll have the opportunity to conduct a research project under the supervision of one of these amazing Columbia Climate School experts, in addition to some of the experts that weren't able to join us today, but were featured on each of the program slides. There's also an opportunity to work on impactful interdisciplinary projects with both Columbia staff as well as external stakeholders that bring climate science research directly to these community users, as you heard in the explanations of these projects. There are also opportunities to gain training in data analysis and techniques, lab safety, professional ethics, and career and networking opportunities. So we're really excited to hear from you all as participants about what skills you'd like to gain, what things you would like to improve on, so then we can provide these learning opportunities this summer. So some things that we've been thinking about are offering some coding and statistics workshops, maybe quantitative or qualitative data analysis, geographic information systems training. Some of the projects use that, so having that knowledge would be essential for those projects. But if you also are new and wanted to explore GIS, we're thinking about providing a training for that based on what you're interested in. We also have special lectures and workshops. So we're looking to organize opportunities for you all to hear from a graduate student panel these students are focused on different programs that are already in climate and sustainability. So you can hear directly from them about their academic career pathways on these different topics. We also offer a $6,000 stipend to all participants. We provide travel reimbursements for students that are coming into the New York City area from other areas around the country. If you are within the tri-state area and you're planning on commuting for this program, we also provide commuting reimbursements for local students. We have a limited amount of on-campus housing for participants that don't live in the surrounding area. That would be on campus at Barnard College. And that housing is really prioritized toward undergraduate students, but we may have flexibility in providing it for any educators that are coming from other states. And we also have financial support for you to present your research at academic conferences in the future. So the program is hybrid. Participants will meet with their research mentors 2 to 3 times per week, either in person or virtually. When participants are not meeting with their mentors, they are expected to be completing the work independently or in your research group. We arrange workspace options on campus where participants can work when they're not meeting with their mentor. We have a couple different options so you can work in the Columbia area. So this is a typical week as an intern. Of course, every week varies, but in general, you'll start your week by checking in with your mentor or research team to set some goals, and then you'll have time to do some independent research. Maybe on Tuesday, you would attend a talk or an event on campus, as well as have time to work on your project. Wednesday, we might tap into the National Science Foundation REU network as they host career development events as well. And it's just a really nice opportunity for participants to meet and network with other REU students across the country. So these are wonderful opportunities that we will offer. Maybe on Thursday, you check in with your mentor towards the end of the week and continue working on your project. And Fridays are dedicated for our REU cohort to come together. We meet at the Columbia Climate School space at the Forum in Manhattanville. And during this time, you'll meet with myself and Josh. We're going to provide some professional development opportunities. So, for example, that graduate student panel would be held on a Friday. You'll have also have the option to meet with us one-on-one to discuss how your projects are progressing. If you have any questions, perhaps we'll have a content lecture from a Columbia scientist. And then, so usually that's in the first half of the day, and then the rest of the day you have time to work on your projects. Weekends are open for you all to explore all that New York City has to offer. Oops. Okay, so project and deliverables. So all participants are, of course, conducting their research in supporting your mentor projects. You're producing a scientific poster from your research at the end of the program that you'll be presenting. You're going to present your posters to members of the Columbia Climate School community. And at the end of this program, you will have a tangible product that you can take to academic conferences. Again, we have the financial support to be able to help students get to conferences to share their work more broadly. You could also use this for your professional or grad school applications. These are just, they're quite small, but just some examples of some of the posters that REU students in the past have developed. And we're really hoping to also have a panel of past REU alumni that have participated in our Columbia Climate School internship. So you can hear from them about the process that they took to work with their project and develop this poster. So we're hoping to connect you all with that broader network early in the program. So some important dates. The undergraduate program is 10 weeks long. It starts June 5th and runs through August 11th. The K-12 educator program is 6 weeks long, and that runs through July 5th through August 11th. So our applications are already open. I encourage you to go on our website to explore all of the application requirements, as well as go ahead and start the application if you're already interested. Our application does close Friday, February 17th, so a little less than a month. All of the applications will need to be due on this day at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We will give you an additional week for your letter writers to submit their letters of recommendation for you online. So that will be due at 5 p.m. Eastern on Friday, February 24th. And then we will review the applications. The mentors will also be reviewing the applications to make sure that it is a good fit for the applicant and the project. So decisions will be made about the program towards the end of March. So around March 27th through March 31st. So some program eligibility guidelines. Any participant has to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You have to have at least completed your sophomore year in college or at a community college. So we take sophomores and juniors for the program. Preference is given to rising sophomores who are thinking about majoring in STEM or related interdisciplinary fields, or juniors that are majoring in environmentally related STEM disciplines. We also place a special focus on the recruitment of individuals that are historically underrepresented in the sciences or are first generation to attend college or university. An interest in conducting research in STEM fields and leveraging science to create and translate climate research in an accessible way is critical, given that that is the basis for all of these projects. College level math, research methods, and an introduction to earth and environmental sciences or climate science is a requirement. And for summer 2023, students or educators will have to be within commuting distance of Columbia University's Morningside Heights campus for the in-person mentor meetings, or be willing to be housed on campus for the program. And again, if eligible, the housing would be provided for those that are coming from outside of that tri-state area. So your application requirements in a quick glance, but there's more information on the website about this. We require your resume, a transcript, and an unofficial transcript is okay. a statement of interest, which is a maximum of 1,500 words. And in this statement, we would like to hear your top 3 choices for projects. And we also ask that question in the application itself. And in the statement of interest, we really want to hear from you all about yourself. What drives your interest in this project? How do you want to connect this project to communities and people and stakeholders? How will this project contribute toward your career goals? We really want to, this is your opportunity to tell us all about yourself. So really leverage that personal statement as a key piece of your application. Then we also require letters of recommendation. So for undergraduates, your letters of recommendation have to be academic references, such as a professor, an instructor, or an advisor. TAs or graduate students are not considered an appropriate academic reference. So just keep that in mind. K-12 educators, your references can be from a professional setting or like an academic setting. So the process of an application for the letter writers, you will have to input their information in the application, but then there's a separate Google form that you will have to send these letter writers so they can input their letters of recommendation for you directly. And a little bit about our COVID-19 policies. So COVID-19 vaccinations and boosters are mandatory for anyone who is present on campus, and you'll be required to show this documentation in the acceptance of this program. So acceptable proofs of vaccination include the CDC COVID-19 vaccine card, the WHO vaccine booklets, but they have to be in English. And Columbia accepts vaccinations that are approved by the World Health Organization. So all of the vaccinations listed below are acceptable. And with that, we will open it up to questions. We encourage you to ask questions about any piece of the process, if it's application or program features, or questions for our amazing mentors. So we had a couple questions here in the chat. So one question is, if you are an international student who has been authorized to work, are you allowed to apply for this internship? So the program is funded by the National Science Foundation. So you have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to receive that funding. But if you have any questions in your particular case, feel free to reach out to myself and Josh, and we can discuss that with you individually. And another question was how GPA will be viewed versus other aspects. So given that this is a rigorous and academic program that you'll be working with Columbia Climate School experts on these projects, we do value a GPA, but it's not the most important thing of your application. We really want to see an interest in the program or the project, how this project will particularly drive your career pathway going forward. So we do consider a GPA, but it is not the end all be all for your application. So I encourage you to apply regardless. And again, the personal statements are really critical. We want to hear about you from you. We have our amazing mentors here. So if there are any questions for them, I encourage them now. Oh, great. So we have one question for Fabian. What level of programming skill is recommended for applicants?
So we don't have any strong requirement there. I think we want you to have some prior exposure so that you have some basic, at least some basic programming skills, and I would say familiar with usual statistical tools such as linear regressions, You don't need to have anything fancy as skills. We're providing assistance, but it's important for us that you have at least some basic level so that we can get started pretty quickly on. So that's in terms, just one more word in terms of what we're looking at in programming skill is mostly R or Python, but other are also possible. But primarily either or. You won't be asked to know both, but if you have like prior experience coding in R or Python, that's a plus for us. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So we have Paul, Josh, Anya, and Fabian still here with us. So if you have any questions about their particular projects, I encourage them. I'm just really excited for this project this summer. We are going to have a really exciting time working together, collaborating together. I think one of the unique pieces of this REU program is that undergraduates and K-12 educators are coming from all over the country. So people are bringing in different perspectives, different skills, and when we meet for these different professional development workshops or trainings or Friday sessions, we have the opportunity to learn from each other. And it's not just students learning from students or students learning from mentors, but you have a lot of perspective that you can teach your mentors as well. It's really a nice collaborative environment that the REU fosters.
While we're waiting for other questions, one thing I might have mentioned, which is possibly of interest both to undergraduates and to educators, is that the university has given my unit a partnership grant with two of the scientists at the Center for International Earth Science Information Network, CESIN, to develop a new class for undergraduates, bringing together cross-disciplinary work on data creation and analysis and engagement with the community organizations that the Resilient Coastal Communities Project works with, so that they can have the data necessary to intervene effectively in coastal resilience planning. So that is something where we are hoping for approval for the course to begin teaching in the fall. And in that case, the students would be working with us to some degree in the summer to help prepare the class.
Oh, that's a really exciting opportunity. Oh, we have a question for you, Paul. So will there be opportunities to get experience working with community partnerships and real people from those communities as part of the project? More broadly, what is the continued connection to projects or research in our own communities if we come from out of state?
So the answer to the first question is yes, absolutely. I mentioned that one of our students last summer worked extensively with South Bronx Unite and indeed has continued his work with South Bronx Unite since ending the summer program. And we have probably a dozen real continuing relationships with community organizations. And one of the principles of effective engagement is they need you before we can connect you effectively. But I imagine that at least 3 or 4 of those organizations are going to have needs over the summer in connection with the Army Corps study or the Mayor's Office of Climate Justice work. As far as bringing it back home, I think that that is a very individualized effort. And every time somebody comes in and says, I'm from Nebraska, I'm from New Mexico, we reach out, if possible, to organizations that are doing similar work to us in Nebraska, New Mexico, Mississippi, wherever, in order to make sure that the ties can be maintained and the work that you do here in New York City could be exported and collaborations could be established with organizations where you're from.
Thank you, Paul. Oh, right. And while we're waiting for any last minute questions, are there any pieces that you would like to share about your project, given that we have a little bit of time left. I just wanted to open it up to any of you all to share about yourself or your project.
I guess I'd just jump in and say, each summer that we've been able to engage in this project, it's really been a whole of our center approach, so even though there's only 2 mentors on the slide, really our whole center gets invested in shaping out the experience for the interns, and they're always open to kind of allow people to kind of pick their brains. And we're very much interdisciplinary in the disaster space. So a lot of opportunities to engage in different career paths, different research approaches, et cetera. So I think we're all really excited for the summer across NCDP.
Thanks, Josh. That's a really good point. I do think that is a common theme that we've seen in projects, that in working with a mentor, you're also opening up this whole world of relationships with other individuals at that center, as well as other centers at the climate school. So it's really nice to build that network early, especially if you are interested in, if you're an undergraduate student and interested in pursuing a pathway in graduate school. Having those contacts are really useful going forward.
Maybe to continue on this somewhat different perspective, maybe a bit more nerdy. As part of your training and undergraduate studies, you work a lot with like clean data set and to apply different statistical methods or other fields, but in very clean data sets. And in terms of, especially when you do social science research, real world data is often messy. It's a lot of assumptions we usually do when we do at least theoretically sound statistical research are not met, and it's much more challenging to work with real world data. So having this experience early on to try to work with what I would call difficult data is, I think, a big plus for your career, because then you develop strategies and how you can deal with like data that may have like holes, maybe imperfect, but from which you can still extract some really useful information that you can leverage in your career. So I think that's at least from my own perspective, I think that's a great skill you can learn as part of this series of projects.
Absolutely. Skills that can be carried forward in future projects, any project. And that was one piece in the past. Josh Fisher, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, he had mentioned that the students who started in the REU last year ended with just an incredible growth in their quantitative and qualitative data analysis skills. And he was able to set aside some time to have some one-on-one or small group sessions to really improve those skills for students. So you're certainly walking away, not just with a project, but with a nice set of hard and soft skills that you can carry with you forward. All right, well, thank you so much to all of the mentors for joining today, and for all of you for learning more about the REU project here at the Climate School. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to either myself or Josh Fisher, and we would be happy to connect you with any of the mentors here. And again, the application deadline is February 17th, so we look forward to reading your applications. Thank you, everyone.